Hi, good morning. Ivania, it looks like it's only me and you, so we're gonna give everybody a few minutes to get in. So hopefully we'll start at I guess 9:35. How are you today?
I'm getting almost feeling right here.
That's good. So you had the opportunity to go over chapter 6?
Um, I honestly I read the first, I think like three or four pages.
Mm-hmm.
But this week I was trying to work on the assignment though, please.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it's kind of repetitive. It'll just reinforce what we discussed already. So nothing too, tedious. So we should be able to get through it today.
Okay.
That's good. Morning, Elizabeth. How you doing today?
Good morning. I am fine. Hope everyone else is the same.
Yes, I'm well. Thank you. Just giving everybody an opportunity to join. We'll perhaps start in 5 minutes or so.
Somebody's got to be on top. Really, guys? That's how it works. Who was where? You're on top. She's on top. All right. Mr. Catlett, as you hear this, Mr. Oliver, do you think she's the gentleman? Question. Well, let's ask her friend. Would you please say it? All right, would you please state your name for the record? Shelby Womack. Miss Womack, thank you for being here. Tell me about this trip to Carl. My cousin's girlfriend didn't want the trip any longer, and the trip had already been paid for. So she just packed a bag and went back. We had to try to have a really good time. Okay, you tried it. You didn't have a good time? What happened was he started getting on social media and calling her. He even was calling me, interview on Facebook. It became psychotic, borderline stalkerish. Did she tell you that she had snuck out of the country without telling her? No, I did not know that. I mean, I wasn't going to tell him, and it wasn't the truck. Like they told me a week ago.
Okay, hi, good morning, everybody. I was just trying to give everybody a few minutes to join, so we have more persons on now, and so we can start. And so I trust that everybody has had a productive week and had the opportunity to read chapter 6, because we would have covered the paper already. Some of the information in chapter 6 should now just be a refresher, because one or two of the questions be covered already. The information about how to make an effective corporate governance structure, how to implement it and put it in place. By now, we should understand ethics, values, a mission statements. Hopefully, the majority of you would have gone into your companies and found out what the mission and vision statement is, and find out if it actually makes sense. Okay, so in the Bahamas, we don't have many laws, I guess, surrounding ethics and culture, but of course, there has been a um, corporate governance policy and procedure in place by the central bank, and I guess there are codes of practice by the Compliance Commission and the other regulators. So you can follow those guidelines. And by now we should understand the structure in place with the board, as well as all the committees and senior management, and who does what. Um, so we should have the foundation, and we would have learned that corporate governance is everybody's business. And whilst it's not being implemented now, in the Bahamas, we're always a few steps behind. And so therefore, as future leaders, we want to, be proactive rather than reactive. And because we are learning these things, and we see that even though laws and policy and procedures not in place, we want to follow best practice. We don't want to wait till it's being shoved down our throats, or when the regulators are on our back. So because we know better, we should be proactive and do better. And so in the absence of policy and procedure in your jurisdiction, you always leverage on policy and procedure of another jurisdiction, and you consider it best practice. Okay. And so, or another regulator within in your jurisdiction. So of course, we saw that the corporate governance policy was last updated, I think, in 2013 on the central bank end. However, on I think the Compliance Commission, their own was updated. Their code of practice was updated, I think, in 2018, and also the Insurance Commission. So we can leverage on those updates just to fill in any gaps. And so like I said, and then we can leverage on another jurisdiction. And normally what I've seen is that our laws are normally copied from either Cayman or Luxembourg or the Netherlands. So, and Cayman is very good at being up to date and current, and having policy out immediately. They start to talk about cryptocurrency, the legislation is in place, or the guidelines are in place. Okay, are we there? Everybody's there. Simone, I see that you say you don't have a good connection. Simmons, everybody else, be there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morning.
Okay. Morning. Good. Good. Okay. So best practice, and like I said, we are the future leaders. We want to start forward thinking, and thinking that when I get to this position, or in preparation for the next level, I am going to start to advocate for some changes, advocate that we do things right, know that, like I said, these vision and mission statements and goals, and know that they're not just basic, baseless statements that sometimes are disseminated, sometimes are not, but that they hold value, and that they mean something, and that the staff are aware. Okay, so this is why we're here, to learn and implement, not just write these papers and pass this course, right? We want to take this information and, if it's applicable, or when it is applicable, be fully trained with, the knowledge as well as the experience, and then apply it in our institutions. So, like I said earlier, chapter 6, again, we have the foundation. We just was basically just a fresh refresher. What do we need to do to have an effective corporate governance structure? It talks more, some more about ethics, and then it talks about culture. And so, in terms of culture, of course, we know, and I think we went through this, that some people want to go to work, after work they want to commit suicide, right? And it's all about the environment, and we know that corporate Bahamas is very toxic, and so therefore we are corporate Bahamas. And so, you know let's stop passing the buck and saying it's not me, it's everybody else. So even if you're not the toxic person, what are you doing to ensure that the ambiance at work, 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for work, 8 hours sleep, 8 hours for work, and 8 hours for home or play. But of course, we know we end up with at least 12 hours at work, sometimes 13, 14 hours at work. And so in those 14 hours, the mere fact that we're there so long means that it's a lot of work to do. And sometimes it can become intense and a lot of pressure. And so what can we do to ensure that the ambience, there's a good ambience at work? Persons come to work happy, they are content, there's a good environment, and nobody's like suicidal. Okay, and so I was reading an article on LinkedIn about culture and things that we can do. And right now in the Bahamas, like I say, we're always 5 steps behind. But as future leaders, we can start to make these suggestions on how to ensure that everybody, comes to work happy, for or most persons do, and that we change the atmosphere and the ambience, and don't sit down at war for 13 hours a day, and don't expect to go crazy or, be overwhelmed or have a mental breakdown, and so we want to get some tips on what can be done to change the, should I say, the ambience, that I was going to say, the atmospheric pressure, but that sounds so meteorological, like the weather. But what do we do to make workplace a happy place? Okay, so we'll look at that article as well, and get some tips about making the culture a little bit better. And in terms of just covering off the last part of chapter 5, and we talked about this, KRIs, key performance indicators, and I had said that at the executive level, normally when they have a management meeting, in that management meeting, there are key risks that are identified. And so one of the key risks would be the number of accounts opening and the number of accounts closing. Do we remember that conversation, Dimitri?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay, with management information. Okay, and you want to make sure that information is accurate and timely, and from that information you can make good decisions. And so on those key risks, if there's normally indicators, and it's a red indicator, yellow, just like the traffic lights, red, yellow, and green indicators. And so of course it depends on if we would have set SMART goals and said that our targets are to open 10 accounts per month, right? And to ensure that there are no closures. And so therefore, on those key risks that are being discussed, you would have the number of accounts closed. And so if our targets were to open 10 and we open 10, of course we get a green light. If we open less than 5, of course we would get a red light. And so if you got a yellow light, you gave an explanation. if you got a red light, you had to write a full-on essay and stand up and explain exactly why you didn't meet your goals and what you were going to do. You know, this is only February. Normally the goals are for the year. So the explanation will be like, well, this is February. We are still in the pandemic. There's still you know, persons out of work. We are hopeful that we will pick up the summer when school opens, or, you know, when vacation time starts and people are traveling and yada, yada. However, on the closing side, if accounts were closed and you exceeded the limits by the number of closures as well as the dollar amount, then of course you would say, we closed 5 accounts, anything over 2 accounts, we get a red light. Of course, I worked in the offshore world, so if it exceeded 500,000, yeah, you would definitely get a red light. But 100,000, 200 enclosures was, you know, no big deal for an offshore company. But most of you, the majority of you work on the retail side. So definitely, I don't know, a threshold of probably 20, if you lose 20,000 or 50,000, you may get a red light. So these metrics are based on, you know, your industry and the type of products and services that you offer. Okay, and it's good information so that you would know. You get so caught up in work and know where you're at and where you need to focus, or you know, pay more attention, so that when the end of the year comes around, you're not in the red. Okay, and then perhaps you can change the strategy, or say, you know, find out the root cause of what's causing, you know, the problem and what's causing you not to meet those goals, or why a person's closing out the accounts. Perhaps we are Scotiabank, and primarily customers come from Atlantis, right? And so therefore we would say our big base is Atlantis. However, 700 persons went home. That will definitely affect your portfolio. And so therefore, you don't just stand up every week and say, oh, well, you know, these Atlantis people, they got let go. No, you need to put a plan in place. You need to find a solution. Atlantis is going to be let go. However, we're offering a new product and service that should balance out. And so these key risks being identified helps you to not be surprised at the end of the year. And a lot of companies that, you know, I would have participated in audits with, at the end of the year, they're surprised that $10 million walked out the bank and they didn't even know. Simply because in most meetings, and this is why Ms. Bullitt absolutely hates meetings, we just sit down and talk. We don't ever do, nobody takes minutes, and nobody follows up, and nobody does anything about it, right? So if you have this key risk indicator report and it's shared and there's accountability and persons are responsible, then every meeting you should not be able to stand up and say, oh, you know, it's this, you know, the Atlantis employees, they're going home, the hotel employees going home. No, it gives you the opportunity to, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna, at December, say, you know, well, these was just Atlantis employees, ain't nothing we could do, right? You have to be innovative. You have to think outside the box. You have to, you know, if the bank doesn't make money or you don't make money, and then we definitely don't need the, you know, we start to downsize. So if you have to help, you know, keep your job. And so therefore you have to think of how, I know this is a pandemic, what do we do? Or is there anything that we can do? Or should we focus our attention elsewhere? Okay, so that management information helps you to make the right decisions. Okay, and so there's a chart, and on page 5, in chapter 5 at the back, that, you know, asks you to think about your institution and think about where you are, where is your institution in terms of good corporate governance. Did anybody see that? Y'all there? Hello? Is anybody out there? Angela?
I'm here.
Angela?
What's the question, sir?
Okay, I said at the back of chapter 5, there's a chart that asks you to think about on page 178.
Okay.
Okay, it says the kinds of values displayed by firms will influence the regulatory relationship the regulator has with them. This interplay is illustrated by the values and cultures of the firm and then the regulatory relationship. Okay,
Right.
and at the bottom it says critically evaluate where you believe either the company you work for or one you are familiar with sits with the values development model. Okay, did anybody look at it and think about where their institutions, you know, the company that you work for, where your institution is? Did anybody look at that?
Yeah, look, I saw the chart. Yes.
Okay, and so where would you think your institution is in terms of the values and the culture versus the regulatory relationship, and do you agree? So basically it's saying if you know you have a culture of just the minimum standard, this is how you will be treated by the regulator. If you have a compliant culture,
It'll probably be at the minimum standard, unfortunately.
okay, so that's the first thing is to identify, Dimitri. Once you identify, do you just accept this, or is there something that can be done? And remember, even if you're not on the executive level yet, you plan to get there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, when will we start to make some changes? Not when you reach there, right? Because then you will be 10 years behind just trying to fix everything. So if we start now having the discussions, implementing some procedures, making some changes, by the time you get to this executive level, you won't be so far behind. You agree?
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah, but you say it so like, oh, Miss Bullet, why? I agree. Talk to me.
Well, the challenge is going to be how do you make changes at the top from the bottom? There's always going to be the question, and that's just a reality. That's a challenge. That's ongoing.
Right, and so the book talks about human barriers to overcome, dominant individuals, the blame culture, the misplaced belief that compliance and corporate governance is only for executive management or the compliance department. The attitude among junior employees that their concerns are of no consequence. So how do we overcome these things? We know there's a problem. We are identifying the problem. Can we get some like-minded people together and to brainstorm? I believe any good leader needs at least 3 persons to support, them, and then they will be effective. What do you think about that? Dimitri, you there? Or are you going? Okay, Dimitri gone. Dimitri ain't talking to me no more. Ivania, what you think about what Miss Bullet's saying?
Okay, when you said 3 persons, you meant 3 persons out of the organization?
Yeah, because essentially you want to be the future leader, right? And
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you need like-minded, you can't do it on your own. So you need like-minded individuals. You know, what is happening? We're not rearing up the next leaders. What we're not training them, and there's no succession plan. What we do is, Miss Bullet been here 25 years. We have to give her position before she retire, right? And so it doesn't matter if I have the right technical skills. It doesn't matter if I have people skills or interpersonal skills. It's just it's my turn.
Yes. But then
Right?
this would have to be something coming from higher up though, because okay,
Why we are saying corporate governance, just like compliance is everybody's business. Corporate governance is everybody's business. Why does it have to come from higher up? When it says one of the barriers are the attitude among junior employees, feeling that they don't have no say. We hire
but
you to be innovative. We hire you to help us brainstorm and come up with good ideas.
I mean, well, for well, for me, I feel as though things like that is said, but it's not necessarily it's the culture of the institution may not actually follow through with what they're actually saying, because you may have, when these junior persons do step up and do come up with these ideas, that the the institution may not be as receptive or to the ideas or even the individuals themselves. So is it just something that they're just saying?
Of course it is. We have to have a succession plan in place. We have to, some institutions have a employee opinion survey that is done every year. So of course we have to check the box. But remember now, we are moving away from all of that would fall under the rules based approach to the risk-based approach. So we now need to move away from just checking the box, putting these things in place and not really meaning them. And how do we change that? By holding persons accountable. Okay, and what I'm saying is, let's not wait until the regulators are enforcing. Let's start now. Start to have the conversations. Start to say, I know you have the suggestion box, but can you give me the percentage of suggestions that were considered? Is there a percentage? You all do have monthly or weekly huddles, right? And meetings, correct?
We have kickoff every morning, but that wouldn't be the same as the huddles. So I
Okay.
mean,
But I
yeah.
mean, you have a forum where you can ask these questions. There's a suggestion box. What percentage of the employee opinions were considered? How
Well,
come we don't ever get a follow-up? How come nobody is telling us that 10 suggestions came in? These are the 10. How come we never discuss them?
I know for our branch, our manager has this thing that he calls Real Talk Live, where he allows certain departments to meet with him at a certain time to voice their concerns in reference to, well, without their supervisors. So the tellers would meet at one point without their supervisor, the service team and stuff like that. You're actually able to, respectfully communicate with him how you feel about certain things, because we don't have I think they did away with the suggestion boxes. And he goes during their management meeting for stuff that, would need to get escalated. So we say he'll mention it to them.
But see,
during the
that's just
meeting.
it. That's what you said, Evania. So he say, who's holding him accountable? Who's asking for feedback and metrics? What was the number of, and it don't only have to be complaints or something negative. What was the number of suggestions you received? How many were implemented? Why weren't the others? Like, who's asking for a follow-up? or holding him accountable. I'm not just sitting down to have this hard talk, whatever, just to say you did it. Is he held accountable or nobody asked?
I mean, after he may come back, sometimes he comes back. Other times it's just it just goes dead.
And so nobody follows through,
Yes,
just because he is the manager. Okay, so now we're learning that it's twofold, right?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we have a part to play. He has a forum, it should be effective. I would ask, how effective is this forum that you're holding? Respectfully. And once they know that somebody's watching and somebody's going to follow up, I would write down, we discussed A, B, and C. You said that you would take it to the board meeting or management meeting. What was the response? And for every complaint or suggestion, it should be documented and there should be a follow-up and there should be statistics. At Q1, we got 20 suggestions, 2 were implemented. The reason why the other ones weren't implemented, so ask for a follow-up. And so we stopped just sitting down and talking and things falling on deaf ears.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just like you have a performance review, something like that should be in his performance review. Okay, and so we have to, change the mindset of the junior employees that they don't have. I mean, the culture is there that, we just check in the box. So we got to move away from this check in the box. Then we have to create an environment where it is safe to speak up without being victimized. Right? And like I said, if we expect to be the future leaders of these organizations, we cannot wait until we get in management then to try and make a decision. It'll be very, very hard to change some stuff. So start to have the conversations now.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so it's easier when you get there. Try and change the culture now. Okay, if you are one of the persons that hate going to work and would shoot 6 people at your job, just start right now.
Yes, ma'am.
For real, listen, you know people like that, right, Ivania?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just me.
And these people are on your team, and so therefore, they are not productive. And you have a bunch of disgruntled people. It is how it is now. It does not have to continue to be that way. Okay, and since we're talking about it already, let me just go into my what I wanted to share about culture and what is going to happen, and then I will come back over the corporate governance. Okay, this is what's going to happen, and this was the article that I was reading this week. I hope some of you are on LinkedIn and would have seen this. Let me just pull it up 1 second, because I found the internet version and it was slightly different. So let me just look at what I would have seen. You all there, right? Elizabeth, you there?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay, good. So I want y'all to really pay attention to this. If we don't start something now, America sneezes and we catch a cold. So before we catch this cold, this is the article. This is what it says. During November 2021 alone, 4.5 million people quit their jobs, the highest number on record. Have anybody seen these articles and heard talks in terms of persons quitting their jobs?
I've heard of it. And
Okay.
I can tell you from from the institution that I'm at, I have seen within the past 4 months, persons who are in, I guess, seniority in terms of the length of time that they've been employed at the company. they're just quitting and staying home because of the pressure and the stress that they're under, and they feel as if, you know, they
Life's
can't
too
do
short,
anything.
right?
Yep,
Life's
let
too
me just
short.
leave.
That's what the pandemic taught us. We had to be locked down with our families. So a lot of us saw what was more important. And a lot of us had such an undeniable peace being away from that office that we decided, hey, we don't want to go back. Okay. And so right now, we in America, it's moved from job shortages to they don't have sufficient people now for these jobs. Okay, so let me just read a little bit of the article. It says, we are currently experiencing the great transformation the world of work has ever seen, with professionals reconsidering not just how they work, but where and why. This is the great reshuffle. When so many people are having a career awakening, workplace culture has become one of the most influential factors when somebody considers their next move. Okay, so people just ain't taking mess no more. It says employees want to work for and will stay at company where there's a culture of flexibility and well-being. And the great reshuffle continues. We can expect employees' needs and expectations will continue to shift and evolve as well. Culture is not static. An organization that adjusts now will be strong in a stronger position for what's next. When they talk about culture, they are suggesting that, because we were locked down so much with the pandemic, the companies that allowed employees to continue to work from home are considered the forward-thinking companies. They list, like, of course, the technological companies like Google and Facebook, who wanted to ensure that they were, their staff had proper ergonomics at home. And so they bought them desks and chairs and a printer and computers and everything to make it office-like at home. And it's a twofold benefit because the companies are now saving on electricity, operational costs, water, tissue, all these things, and supplies. They are saving billions of dollars. They are considering that the companies that move back to 100% in person and are not forward-thinking companies. It also talks about productivity increasing by some 300% because persons had flexibility and they were just happier. And so because they wanted to prove that working from home could work, they went the extra mile. Okay. And so this article goes on to talk about what flexibility looks like. It says, while employees have more control in today's talent market and hybrid work environment, companies need to lead with trust. Do we have any companies out there leading with trust? Angela? Is Angela there? Dimitri, you back?
I'm here.
Yeah, any companies out there leading with trust?
No.
Okay, do you dare to be the leader to set the pace and make this change? Do you agree with it?
I agree with the concept of it, but also remember now, all we've been going over during this these periods of discussion is that leadership is entrenched by senior management and by the board, and persons may be wary of stepping up and stepping out of their zone because it may have consequences. Person is look at you and say, well, okay, that you're a problem or what have you.
And that's gonna happen, Dimitri, but those people will be left behind. And we only have what, 300,000 people, maybe 400,000. We have what, 200,000 children. So half of that could be the workforce. Okay. If we have persons just deciding to stay home, then what? And we have a lot of millennials. They are not, they are not gonna take what we take. Okay, they are walking off these jobs and they simply do not care. Okay, and so what is happening in America now is they just can't find good talent. Okay, and this is affecting the world. So just like the new technological age, what happened to the persons who did not want to adapt to online banking, who couldn't work from home? I can't read online. I have to print out everything to read to digest it. We had no choice, right? So are we going to hold out until we have no choice? Or are we going to be forward thinking and, compassionately walk through these changes? Or we can fight to the death? What it could be? Are you going to wait till it's too late? Because of we don't live in perfect. There's always going to be a challenge. You're always going to have to work hard no matter what. Life is not easy. Okay, so I think that's where we're headed. Update yourself or get left behind. Adapt to the change. Change is inevitable. The only thing that's constant is change. Correct?
That is true.
Yeah. We had to move from the passbook printers, right? Remember all the passbook printers and all the, problems we had with getting, especially the elderly off of that. Look at the persons now, you can't go into the bank without withdrawing $1,500. The elderly, their check is only $300. Right? And so there are concessions made for them, but not for able-bodied persons under 60. Right? So think about these things. Okay, you must stay current, you must stay up to date, or you will not be, one of the future leaders that they're looking for. Okay, and so it says, what do you do? Outdated success metrics, like how many hours one puts in, needs to be refocused on results and impact. Is Ms. Bullitt doing her work? Did she meet her deadline? Did she achieve her goals? Okay, not the persons that come to work at 7 o'clock and stay till 7 p.m. By 2 o'clock, they're at their desk sleep. So they give quantity work rather than quality work. Okay. It's important for companies to encourage employees to take breaks and establish a regular work rhythm, as well as remind them that they are valued for their ability to meet goals and exceed expectations whenever they may be. Okay, it says the true definition of employee well-being, employee burnout. Burnout is now considered a medical disease. That means you can go to the doctor and say that you are burnt out. And after they do some tests, they can give you time off. You can get an NIP for it. It's considered a medical disease. Okay. It says employee burnout has reached historic levels in the past year, and mental health must remain a top priority for companies as focus shift from short-term solutions to transforming organizational culture to meet the needs of employees. Okay, time off as an organization is another increasingly popular and well-received opportunities to support. Okay, then it goes on to talk about employees want to work for all and will stay at companies where there's a culture of flexibility, where they are valued, and where the focus is their well-being. We can expect the great reshuffle to continue. We can expect that employees' needs and expectations will continue to shift. We can expect that culture is not static, and organizations that adjust now will be in a stronger position for what's next. Okay. And then the suggestions are, even if you're working from home, there is a no video day, because of course, there are those leadership has changed. Back in the day, we was the boss and we in charge and everybody was in fear of us, and we ruled with an iron fist. Now today, we are leaders, we are coaches, we are training, and we have succession plans in place. That's how we are taught in supervisory skills, that there's been a shift from the boss to now the coach and the trainer. And so therefore, um, as coaches, we need to talk to our staff, we need to get feedback, we need to build a culture of we are a team, everybody has value, and we are brainstorming together to achieve one goal. Okay, and like I'm saying, whatever happens in America, it happens here. We can't afford to lose our workforce. Okay, we have to move away from people being overworked and underpaid. Okay, and some other suggestions were that you don't, even though people are at home, there's a no meeting week, like for Miss Bullet who hates meetings. I said, oh yes, that would make me very happy, because Miss Bullet is sitting like 10 meetings a day, and it drives me bananas. So there's a no meeting week. There's a no camera week, where if because if you turn on the camera, you want to look professional. And for the women, you have to fix your hair and put on outfit and makeup. And so therefore there's a no camera week. And then outside of vacations, we give you the time off to go and get your driver's license. We arrange so that you could pick your children up from school. From 2010 in Canada, I don't know if it's a law, but I know organizations. I was doing a mentorship program with persons in Canada, and they basically said all the mothers get off at 2 because they have to pick the children up from school at 3, and they work at home, and minimally after 3. Okay, and that helps to build a better society. So there are things that can be implemented where employees feel loyal, they feel appreciated, or the employees are loyal to the company because they feel appreciated, cared for, and that their well-being is considered. Okay, and companies that don't start to move towards building this type of culture will be left behind. And like I said, building these types of cultures in organizations, of course, we don't live in perfect. Everywhere you go, there will be people that will still take advantage of the system. Whenever you have a group of people, there are high, medium, and low performers. Okay, and so you are gonna have the one-off or the outlier who takes advantage and abuses the system. There's nothing you can really do about it. But the people who are loyal, they said productivity increased, loyalty increased, persons, what is happening now in America is it's hard to find knowledgeable people with expertise. And so, where the companies that are surviving or still have their base or that strong base and making the strong numbers are the companies that have a good culture and know how to treat people. Okay, and so, like I said, we cannot wait until we become senior management. We need to start to suggest, and like I said, there are like-minded persons. I told a story about, the manager who said in the 80s, I only made $30,000, so there's no way you could pay her more, right? And so I shied away from that person. I said, okay, when it comes to money, we won't make money decision. Okay, there are like-minded people in your company. Find them. Okay, and like I say, we have to know where to draw the line. We ain't looking for a friendship. We ain't looking for godparents for our children. We ain't looking for somebody to hang out with on the weekends, or a girlfriend or a boyfriend. We're looking for like-minded person who support good decisions and who will help you make these changes. Okay, so start to have the discussions, and simply talking isn't enough. You have to take minutes. You have to follow up. It's not easy. Okay, and then you have to implement or advocate for change, and it's going to benefit you. Because wouldn't it be great to go to an institution where you sit down for 14 hours a day, but you feel valued, and you feel like these people care, that they try to just take you away from your family. Okay, it makes a difference. Yeah, so stop giving people a hard time when they have to pick up children from school and when they are sick, or because they are not as knowledgeable as you are. Okay, and put some stuff in place. Advocate, join a social committee and see what you can advocate from that end, and move your way up. Join your church group, so when you get on these boards, you see how they operate, and you learn. Okay, any comments or concerns? What do you think? Who Elizabeth? Yeah, you tell me, Elizabeth. What you think about what Miss Bullet read? It sounds good, eh? Fairy tale learning.
Very much fairy tale land, because we all know Nassau, the Bahamas is not a real place. We live in Narnia. A lot of times, companies give you the perception that you can advocate change from a junior level. But when you actually try to take that initiative, they try to find a way to basically shut you down. Because I'm in my department behind the boss's back. The senior persons would say, oh, they're going to a board meeting. I hope they try and make some changes for us. We haven't had a meeting from I joined the department. There hasn't been a staff meeting. So literally 2 days ago, there was a new policy internally that we're supposed to follow. The senior members were already had already instituted this policy. And so I had to ask for a meeting to find out, okay, what is it that you want? You are asking me to now complete this attestation, but you have never told me or outlined what my duties and responsibilities are. It's not until the meeting then everyone knew exactly what it is that was required of them. But y'all been sitting here for years, quiet, and they make it seem as if this person is someone you're supposed to fear because of the culture of the company, when in retrospect, once you bring your issues to her, she finds a way to correct it. But I know, I don't tell you, I know if I won't be no matter. No.
Yeah, but you did the right thing, Elizabeth. Just with less discouragement, because you know what to do, and you got what you wanted, but you was discouraged that you had to suggest it, right? You know the right thing. If you're going to implement something, you should have a meeting. You should walk through the staff and let them know, right? These are the changes and this is how we do it, right? And we will practice it to make sure we are on, that would be, and perfect, that would be the ideal thing that should happen. However, remember, we don't live in perfect. And you seem to be very educated and knowledgeable. And so you suggested, can we have a meeting? Can we go through this? Right? You got your information, but yet there's still that disappointment that you were the one that had to suggest the meeting.
And not
And
only
I
that,
want you to move away from being disappointed.
the reason why I'm disappointed is, should she not be around?
She should. She should.
No, I'm just saying, should she not be in the position? These other persons are in line.
Yeah, but see, we can't worry about those stuff. It's her position, and you have to respect the position, okay, that she holds. Remember now, back to culture, friends, lovers, and family, right? The idea that she been here the longest, so she next in line. She don't have no people skills. She don't have no technical skills, but she just, it's so many scenarios or so many reasons why. At the great Royal Bank that I love, and I always talk about back in the day now, not with the new changes. I always felt that we used to have a bet when a position came out for senior management. Back in the day, we had a secretary become the boss, the head in charge of all the top execs, right? And after that happened, they use that as an example. There's like, oh, you forget when Miss So-and-so became the head, she became all those persons who trained her boss. And from then, there was a culture of when a top position, became available, they would hire the idiots who would destroy all the educated people. And so we used to have a bet. We used to be like, betcha this one, get it now. Here's the educated one. Here's the one who has all the knowledge. And here's the one who is going to take the position where it needs to go to the next step. But they hire that person. Then you give the person who, it was almost like job security. I can lose my job because you can never replace me. So I can be here until I retire. So I can let you frustrate. You could now be in charge of that educated person and you will frustrate out the position. But my job would be secure. Okay, and like I say, all because of that secretary, moved from a secretary and became the head over all of the execs. Okay, so that was the culture. You knew that if you was qualified, you was in knowledge. And so we want to, like I say, all of these are the old tactics, the old ways. They were too lazy to stay up the breast to go to school to keep current, right? And so they hated persons who went to school, who kept current, who was educated, who knew better. And then they tried to suppress them. Like Dimitri said, fear of these dominant individuals. When you start to speak up, they look at you as a problem, right? And we live in an era where a Facebook world where everything is fake. So if you tell the truth, people look at you strange because everybody just is their lies, right? So you're ostracized for being honest. That's the era that we live in. Okay, but it's only up to us to change it. We can get comfortable in it, and then all our good foundation and ethics, which your mother taught you, Elizabeth, before she sent you on these jobs, right? All that good ethics and good culture and that ambience that you had at home, which she expected you to take in the institution. Now it's more them than us, right?
Adulting is hard.
Right, yeah. But remember what your mother taught you. You know better, so you do better. Okay. It is hard. It is hard. And like I say, there's this tick the box approach. We say these things because we have to sound good, but we don't really mean it. And for years, the system has been blocked up. I'm just saying that we don't have to be a part of that system. It's enough of us now that are educated, that have proper home training, that know what it is to be toxic, that go to work for 10 hours a day and we feel like we've been to hell. It does not have to be that way. It's not going to be an easy change, but we can do it.
Come sit here.
Okay, Quant, what would you say? You heard any of that about the great reshuffle?
Oh, be careful.
Quant? Quant ain't talking to me today. Okay.
Sorry though, I was trying to get my mic on.
Okay. So you
What were you saying?
I read an article on LinkedIn. You heard the article?
No, ma'am, I need to go and check that out.
Yeah, about 4.5 million persons leaving their jobs in November. And saying it's because of the culture. And after staying at home during the pandemic, they realized the importance of home versus work. And a lot of them is go to hell for 8 hours a day. And so they just quit.
Yeah, the financial industry, I don't know about anywhere else in the world, but it's very competitive because you have a lot of people being promoted for not the right reasons.
Right.
For the wrong reason.
Right.
And people are seeing the importance of their job. They don't want to leave because they feel like it's the only option. A lot of people just don't have a job. So you're stuck in a hard place as to trying to figure out, should I leave? Am I going to be able to make a change or be ostracized because of my because I want to speak up and do the right thing? But I guess you just have to get to know the culture of where you work, because every place is different, and there's always going to be someone who I call the stronghold in the place that causes the confusion.
Right. So we know all of this. Are we just accepting it?
No, you can't accept it. You have to just be able to use wisdom and know how to maneuver in a situation like that, and try to speak to others who have key positions to make them see. You almost try to put the people in a rock in a hard place that they would be forced to make certain decisions. It's not going to be easy, but you just have to use wisdom with that regard.
Correct. Okay, so we all these things that we are learning, we don't want it to be a fairy tale. Okay, and there are companies that have a good culture, that care about the staff, that just seeing the productivity levels, seeing the operational costs go down, and seeing that the people are happier. And so we have to move away from like this tick the box approach. We have to hold these people accountable and follow up with them if they have in roundtables and employee opinions, and follow up. What was the results of the suggestions you got? Elizabeth, we have to move away from being junior employees and managing up. You are a part of the team. It's unfortunate that you're still in the era where a lot of the lay staffs are, like I say, more educated and more forward thinking than the managers. You can't let them change you. You have to continue to be respectful and say, Lord, this is my service. Yes, show me what I should learn from this. But you did the right thing. Just remove the disappointment from doing the right thing. Okay, so culture, guys, and so some examples of what you can do. That in these meetings, I had a lady that I work with. She said, "Food is always bring people together and make everybody happy." So perhaps some lunch and learns, perhaps some from flexibility. Definitely the license your car, your birthday off. You have people working hours and hours and hours of overtime, and I always tell my staff, listen, when I do my schedule, I say, you can work January, overtime. February, spend some time with your family. Then I don't care how much work it is, we are going to rotate it, and then there's going to be a period. I mean, that helps the company, but it also helps the staff, because you have some staff that work overtime continuously, and they say we need the money, but they are burnt out. And so that all that money that you make, you spend right back at the doctors, right? And Simone, is your connection? Can you speak? Can you hear Simone? Okay, perhaps not. Okay, because I just wanted to know, because Simone is with a regulator, and I wanted to find out, are the regulators having these discussions? Are they just in a check the box stage, or are they going to, implement some checks and balances in regards to ethics and culture? And when they find out that the culture is in a dismal state, what do they do? Okay. And again, we talked about the reward and recognition system, of course, that helps, and it should be for everybody. And if it isn't, then okay, Simone is saying it's a work in progress. Okay, yeah. So Simone, again, we need that to come from the top, right? And when you go out on your audits of these institutions, slip the cultural aspect, or the ethical aspect, or the reward and recognition, to see, these things have to be checked. We can't just don't take them seriously, because we didn't take them seriously, and we were more focused on, I guess, revenues and making sure nobody in frauds and stuff like that. There is a net effect. If employees are happy, they are more productive. They become more loyal. They will meet those targets. They will break their neck to achieve those goals. Okay? And so an acronym, and I sure most of you who've been in my class from the beginning, you would have heard this acronym that's called COBA. Is you give the staff the knowledge, then you train them and they understand, then they start to believe in you, and then they act. And that's really how you would achieve all your goals. Okay. And so all these things were, like I said, not checked and not enforced, and we didn't see them as important. And look what happened. Look what happened to the industry. Very, very toxic. Very poor behaving corporate structure. People feel like they go into war. I go into Afghanistan today, people are sick, So let's make a change, and let's start now. Small steps, finding those like-minded people, and hang out with them and say, we could stick together and perhaps get something done, or make some small changes. And when I become management, I'm gonna forget, So, okay, I hope that helps in terms of culture and what you can do. Okay, there's something called colleague care, and Elizabeth, I think we talked about this in another class, where you talked about your job description, and you said it says customers, and I also teach customer service and management, and in that class we learned that there are internal customers and there are external customers. And the external customers, of course, are your clients. The internal customers are the people that sit next to you, or the various departments that you serve. And we blow away the customer. All our models are customer geared, and then we destroy the person sitting next to us. So in your spare time, read up on colleague care and the internal customer, and that same white glove that you extend to the external customer to give that exceptional service, you extend that within the organization. Colleague care. Okay, and that's what I can write my good friend on Ombudsman about, because I think she's going to be checking the employee opinion surveys as well, and to start to have the conversation about colleague care. And in the Canadian banks, of course, it's implemented already. I think, at least at Royal Bank, they know the phrase colleague care. They understand the internal customer that needs to be serviced as well with good service and good treatment and just care. Okay, so think about all of that. Okay, we would have covered, because one of the questions asked, what is achieving effective corporate governance? And so, of course, there are 6 key steps where they talk about the right information, the right people, the right time, the right decision, the right action, and the right outcome. And in these 6 steps, should one of these steps be out of place, the company is normally not effective. Okay, and the biggest problem is normally the right people. And we talked about the issues. We talked about how the wrong person could be friends, lovers, and family. You've been here the longest, so the position is yours, whether you have the skills or not. I can send you to a class. You could now start today to learn, but you're in the position, and so you want a learning curve for perhaps 3 years before you could even know what is right, okay, and how to do what is right. Okay, so the right information, you want to ensure that it's accurate, and it depends on the situation you're in. And again, the decisions that we made about remuneration before the pandemic is not applicable now after the pandemic, okay? And so we can't just say, well, the remuneration policy says this, okay? The pandemic changed most of that. So that information needs to be applicable to the time. And so as compliance officers, you know, I say start your library. Compliance is decision-based. You need a network. You won't have all the answers. So build your network so you can pick up the phone and say, Ms. Bullitt, how about this? What would you do? What are your thoughts? Have you had this experience? And then you document your decision at this time and date, because, and this is the reason why you made that decision, okay? All of that is going to help you, I promise you 100%, because you won't remember 6 months that this was the pandemic and something specific happened, or this was the remuneration policy before the pandemic, okay? So it's very important that that information is accurate. Be very careful of secondary data. Secondary data can be outdated. It could be vague, it could be biased. So you want to ensure that you have the right, accurate information at the right time, okay? And then again, you want to ensure that the format is clear, that it can educate the recipient, that the recipient can understand it. I used to get reports each month, but it was on the entire, we had 800 clients. And so out of that, those 800 clients, I only needed the high risk persons to make my report. However, they sent me an entire sheet with all 800 clients, and I had to cut and paste and, you know, retrieve the information. I couldn't just send the entire report to the board without the cut and paste and the specifics on the high risk, because they would have taken, what, 3-4 hours just to read through this report when only some of the information was pertinent. Okay, so you want to give clear, accurate information that can tell people what to do and help them make a quick decision. Okay, so only give information what is required. Only identify what is critical. Okay, and most times you get this information from a system and you manipulate it to pull out the information that is needed. Okay, the right information. Once you get the right information, you need the right people. Okay, and you can just look at your, you know, Dimitri, you said that there are some issues. Find out what type of information are they receiving. Is it just the critical information that is needed? And once this information is received, is it the right person receiving it? And Elizabeth, like you say, we already know we don't have the right person in place, right? Are we going to complain, or are we going to make our lives easier by knowing that I have to manage up? knowing that it's not necessarily my job, but I don't have that attitude to see in my job. That's out of my pay scale, right? And the whole department suffers. Or are you gonna have the attitude, I know better, so I ought to do better. And somebody is going to recognize me for it. Okay, and so this is how, when a selection comes up, hopefully the culture, because of the changes that I suggested and the like-minded people around me, we could perhaps make a change. Okay, so you want the right people, you want to empower them to make decisions. There's one big Canadian bank that I audited, and when I was at Royal and management, my limit was unlimited. From I was a teller supervisor in the branch, I had an unlimited signing authority. And I audited a bank where the managers in the branch, their limit is only $5,000. They can't approve anything. So are they truly empowered? Are they the right people if you have to send everything to Trinidad or Jamaica? So I left in that audit thinking that this bank ain't a real bank, or the Bahamian branches are just nice faces, because they don't have any signing power. And so I wrote about the empowerment of the managers, and why have these managers, why have the senior person at this level if really they just a face, So these people should have specialist knowledge. They should be educated. They should have a strong network. They have to make decisions. Okay, and believe it or not, it's very hard to make decisions. Okay, and the right decision. And after you make a decision, it's even more hard to go back and say, I made the wrong decision. I want to change it. Some people just, their ego don't allow them to say that they're wrong, right? And they stick with it. That was the decision I made. They can be proven wrong, and they ain't changing that. Okay, so you want to ensure that the people who are in these, you have the right people, because remember, anywhere along the 6 steps, if one is not right, then you have problems, okay? And you need to identify it and try to fix it. Okay, don't wait till the auditors come. Then the right time. Again, we don't need policies and procedures, or we don't need the disaster recovery plan that we had in place before the pandemic, because most of them didn't include pandemics. And even if it did include it, it only had a one-liner on a pandemic, right? So we want the new updated disaster recovery plan to make sure, and that's the one that we want to test. Each year we attest to the regulators that it's up to date. Is it truly up to date? Has it truly been tested? Has it been updated to include the new information? Okay, for this time and our next steps. So the right time, the right decision, again, specialist knowledge, subject matter experts. That's what the consultants are for. And in the absence of the consultant, you don't just say, but I have nobody else to ask. No, you either retain legal, or my company ain't spending no money, or you build your network. You should have a network of lawyers and compliance officers and CEOs and anybody, junior staff, anybody who can give you some insight so you can make the best decision possible. And like I said, let not our egos get involved for us to not be able to say that we are wrong and we need to change some stuff. Okay. Then once you make the right decision, that would lead to the right action, and you should have the right outcome. Okay. Action requires implementation sometimes. It has to be appropriate to achieve the intended result. There should be an action plan. It should be documented, and normally after audit, that's what we require, an action plan. And we check, like I said, sustainability, we come back and to really follow the action plan. For us to close this audit and leave, did you implement the change? Are the persons now getting a second signature rather than just one? Okay, do persons need to be trained? And we check sustainability after 6 months to make sure, yeah, the right action or the action plan that you implemented was effective. Are there any alternatives? Okay, and if there are a group of people making this decision, then you want to document any opposers. Did anybody oppose this action plan? Did anybody oppose the decision that you were going to make? And if you do have opposers, be fine with that. But then just document, even though Ms. Bullitt opposes, at this time, this date, we chose this decision. Okay? And then the right outcome, because you would have made that decision, persons are accountable, and the steps have been implemented properly or effectively. You may achieve sometimes, you may have made completely the wrong decision, or sometimes you make the right decision. Okay, but don't be afraid to say, I need to amend the decision or revise some of the actions or make some changes. And that's, like I say, one of the biggest problems with these steps, because nobody ever wants to say that they're wrong. Okay, so we have those 6 steps and we understand, and we have some examples. And in one of the readings that I went through, it says there's always a governance failure in the 6-step process when a company fails. So all of the Enrons and the RBC Scotland and all those people that had those governance issues always had a governance failure, one of those 6 steps. And of course, through our discussions, we spoke about one of the biggest problems we have is the 2nd step. And so of course, 3, 4, 5, and 6 down the drain as well. Correct? You all there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see how important it is? Are we doomed to fail? Are we setting ourselves up every day, going to work, working hard, sitting in turmoil, and there's no way we can meet these goals? Right? It's everybody's business now. And you will have that more being embedded into the culture of organizations. We just did it with compliance. And in some cases, some institutions still feel like, oh, that's the compliance officer and that's their job. But for the most part, Elizabeth, is compliance everybody's business in your institution?
It is.
Okay. So will corporate governance be very soon. Okay, we want to be the leaders and not the followers. Okay. Okay. A robust ethical culture, firm's attitude towards combating money laundering is increasingly viewed as indicative of ethics with which it conducts its business. The foundation of any successful fight against money laundering, financial crime lies in the culture with the organization. A culture that is infected with an agenda focused solely on short-term financial goals will itself be more exposed to financial crimes, poor compliance, reputational issues, and disabling management. People escalate. And normally, I read an article that says, CEOs normally last 2 years, 3 the most. And when they come in, and we see this in the offshore world over and over again, they come in, they have a whole new structure, a whole new strategic plan, or all of this. And so by the time you learn their new structure and strategic plan, they go on, and then you start over. I was at Royal for 16 years, and on the offshore side, probably 10 years. And in those 10 years, we had 4 or 5 CEOs starting over this model, that model, this is foolishness. We never got it. Every time we learn the new model, something new was in. Okay? And all that affects you, overall, the overall company. So we can't just sit back and wait till these companies fail. And like I said, we are in an enforcement era, right? The regulators, we are being internationally watched. Some people have to go to jail. Some of these companies got to shut down. These things got to come to light, right? We want to make sure that we are doing what we ought to do so that when the governments have to make sure that, the FATF, or if they come in and help us, that we are not the operation that takes the fall, right? And a lot of institutions doing some shady business, a lot, okay? And like I say, make sure I have your revenue streams, because it ain't for much longer, okay? Either the regulator is going to shut you down, or you may go to jail. But they doing some real shady business. And I worked with a company where I was doing some consultancy work, where I told them, this is what the law says and blah, blah, blah. And they was, oh, that's fine. Yeah, this one is my cousin. I'll just call my cousin, So they still have that attitude that we don't need to follow the laws. We don't need to do what is right. Our connections. Okay? God forbid if the cousin is removed, that whole institution will shut down. And they ain't even saying it on just at an executive level. They ain't even saying it internally or quietly. So I say, so you hired me to consult. I don't really need to do my job. I could just call my cousin too. And so if you have a culture of everybody calling their friends or family to get by, I say, how about, we train the staff. Let's don't ever say that again at the executive level, first of all. Second of all, we know what to do. Let's start to practice what to do before they come in and review us. What that could cost too much money, I have to hire too much people, blah, blah, blah. So I said, what was the point of me consulting with you again? Because the company doesn't really want, help. They want to know, like, how much people, Miss Bullet, to help us when they clamp down on us, to help us get out of this mess. And again, Simone, the regulators have to look at their fines and penalties, or the financial service industry will end up like the cruise ship industry that says, pay the $1 million and dump the sewer into the ocean. because what it'll cost to have a barge come out and remove it and properly dispose of it is like 5 million. So pay the $1 million. Okay. And so there are a number of things that, need to happen. At the regulators, they're fairly new. The analytics department, fairly new. Still on a learning curve, but one day we are going to have to, they're going to enforce and we're going to have to produce. So we need to start to change these mindsets, start to change these cultures, start to work ethically now, or we will find it's too late to go back and fix so many things. I know one company started off with, they had about 1,000 accounts. They had 5,000 deficiencies across those 1,000 accounts. And they opened more accounts and more accounts. And they were up to 15,000 deficiencies across the accounts. And when I say deficiencies, let's say one account holds about 45 pages between the account opening agreement and the KYC, like the passport copies and what have you. So in terms of deficiencies, the passport copies were not legible. They were not certified. The customers did not sign where they ought to sign. For company accounts, the good standings were missing. And so they, new employees came in and this is how they were trained. And they had projects and projects to fix these deficiencies, but they always hired part-timers who, by the time they got trained, they left, their contract was up. So it just grew and grew and grew. Okay, and that's a administrative nightmare. And many of those administrative nightmares are going on in many of those companies right now because people do not know policy and procedure. They are not trained properly and nobody's checking. Okay, and I keep saying, gone are the days when the old way things, how we did it before 2018 is acceptable. Gone are the days when entry-level staff could say, well, that's the manager, that's above my pay grade, and everybody goes to jail. The people who stand on the side just wave the branch, they go to jail too, or they will be held accountable. Okay, and like I say, I'm encouraging the regulators to stiffen the penalties so that people take this seriously. Okay, so like I say, you know better, you do better. Go into your organization and look at where you are to create the organization. Try and get some information. See where you are falling down in those 6 steps. Most of the time you'll find it number 2. And so I don't know. But we can't just turn a blind eye. We can't just keep talking and no action if we expect the right outcome. Correct? Y'all there or y'all sleep?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have to say. Give me some feedback. I don't think I need to hop on ethics anymore. I think we get it. I don't think I need to talk about the vision and the mission statement, whatever. By now, you all should know if it makes sense or not. Corporate governance, We know the structure, how to make it effective, how to implement it, the 6 steps. We see the challenges. Ivan, you would say you.
I was good. What was the question?
No, I guess I would, what is your take on all this? Ms. Bulletin, you have nothing else to say. I getting feedback from you on that and questions.
You come back to me?
Sure, sure.
Miss Bullet, I have a question.
Go ahead, Quan.
You were going, this class, we were going over unit 6, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What else in unit 6 you want to cover? At the beginning, I had said we had covered some of it when we did the paper. So again, it was just a refresher. And I was hoping that you would have some questions. Because remember, I think question 2 asked you how to put an effective corporate governance structure in place. Yeah. So let me know what else you need. Because the rest is just we already read the story about Apple, and then there's the Royal Bank of Scotland story, you know. So let me know what else you need.
Okay, let me go to the question, sorry.
Okay. Okay. So Dimitri, let Basquan looks up what our question is. What is your feedback? Okay, no Dimitri. Elizabeth? No, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you're talking to me? Okay. Anybody with feedback or questions or concerns?
Okay, with regard to question 2, they want this on a report style. So it's basically breaking down what we deem as effective corporate governance and why it's important for the success of whatever firm that we choose. And then
Definitely, yeah, the 6 steps you definitely want to have in there. And then remember when we talked about it, I think I said if you could probably do Bank of the Bahamas for 2 and 3, but you don't want everybody doing Bank of the Bahamas. So, but you could use that as a guide. Okay, and we know that government banks, for the life of all government banks around the world, they've always failed. That's the first thing to do. So why should we have expected anything else from Bank of the Bahamas? And there's loads of information out there on why they fail because of the interference and, you know, the country's deficit and politicians and their friends and so on. Okay, that answers your question?
yes.
Okay.
This one here seemed to be very vague. This question number 3. Well, I
Okay.
guess
Go ahead.
I guess it really wants you to break down how as an individual, how an individual's ideals and views and profession and would affect the firm.
Right. So just
This is talking about senior management or just a regular employee. That I guess you would have to specify.
yeah, but it says each individual's professional behavior. And if you could go back and listen to the recording when we discuss the questions, and then right in chapter 6, it talks about what the individual values are that we just discussed. I'm looking for the page.
No.
On 212. Point, look to 212.
Okay, I'm pulling that up now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what you have. Are there human barriers to overcome?
Mhm. And of course, we just talked about it, the dominant individuals.
Yeah, the dominant individuals,
The
the
blame
blame
culture.
culture, the misbelief that compliance is solely the compliance department, and that's not true.
Yeah, the attitude among junior employees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then remuneration. So all of that, affects. And then we talked about what is it? The Nassau Society had those principles, ethical principles.
You said, what is the Nassau Society?
Does anybody remember? I had brought it up. Hold on. Let me see, give you the correct. That's why I'm saying if you listen to the recording of that class, let me see, anybody there? Dimitri, y'all didn't remember? Y'all have to pull it out. Nobody? Okay. The Nassau Institute. They had the ethical principles of business, the Nassau Institute. So like I say, go back to that. And they have 3 ethical principles. Go back to the recording, excuse me, of the paper, and you'll get all the information.
This was last class, right?
The class before that.
Oh, okay. I don't think I couldn't attend that class. That's what happened.
Okay, so that was
hold on.
it was not the 5th. That was the January, let me see.
The last weekend.
January 29th. Yeah, the class of January 29th. Yeah, so that we went through all the questions. Good discussion. And so any questions you have, you should, if you listen to that, you should be able to get all your information from there. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So any other comments or concerns, just let me know. This is our last class. It's been a pleasure. And you're almost there. You're 80% the way there. So just organize yourselves. And like I said, remember this weekend is Valentine's and Super Bowl. Next weekend, try and spend some time in your paper before the end of the month, because you want 1 week to review and have somebody else like a second eye review it for the grammatical errors, because I see a few papers where people just misspell or miss paragraphs. Okay, so try not to be rushed. And just like if you had an exam, when I was at Royal and I did this back in 2009 or 8, I got a week off. So I don't know if your institution gives you a week off for your paper or at a minimum 2 days. So inquire and ask. Many institutions are paying for you to attend this class, and it makes absolutely no sense to pay for a class and you don't give study days, you know? So, or if you have, we used to have family responsibility leave or some type of flexibility. So definitely the week of, you know, you don't have to wait till the week of. You could perhaps do a week or 2 days before and explain to HR that, you know, minimum 2 days off to, you know, prepare and unwind and make sure you're clear and your submission date. So speak to your institutions, and I hope that they are supportive, and they do give you some time off to complete your papers. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, great. So no more questions or concerns. You'll enjoy your weekend, enjoy Valentine's and the Super Bowl, and have a fabulous and a productive week. Y'all are all in my network. So Elizabeth, I have your email contacts. I have everybody's contacts. So we all when Miss Bullet call, you all don't play like you all don't know Miss Bullet now at P3.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Do you have contacts? This is
Yeah.
Shari.
My email address, tbullet1800@gmail.com.
Hold on, let me write this down. T-Bullet.
1-800
Mm-hmm.
@gmail.com. And so y'all look for me when we get back in person seminars, and like I say, y'all remember Miss Bullet now. Y'all stay current and abreast, because I can need y'all when I call y'all for good information to help me make these good decisions. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you.
All right, it's been a pleasure. Y'all take care.
Enjoy your weekend.
You
Bye-bye,
too.
everybody.
Thanks.